search. We're glad that Core Publisher is a content management system that can support ease of use, that can support API integration and sharing content, but we're also really proud that it allows for search engine optimization and site search so that it can increase your traffic, increase your engagement, and increase people being able to find your information. Core Publisher also supports underwriting and advertising via DFP. So if you have a DoubleClick for Publisher account or a DFP account, you can set up ads and underwriting in DFP, and then they can show up and populate your blocks in Core Publisher. We also support third-party tools such as videos, polls, maps, and etc. If you have some kind of code or if you have JavaScript, you're able to add that into Core Publisher as well. We do have promotional tools within Core Publisher that allows for social sharing. It's part of everything that is built, so if you have a page or a post, you can find an easy way to share it on social media. It does also integrate with the station analytics system that Digital Services provides to stations, as well as Composer 2 for your scheduling and playlist content. We also still provide 24/7 monitoring and on-call support, so if something horrible happens in the middle of the night, your site goes down, we are here to help. We also have a lot of systems in play in the background to let us know if there is something going on within the system that we can automatically get pages and information about it so that we can stop it before it reaches the live site. So we have those systems in place, and we think about all of these things every time we make an enhancement or a feature update in Core Publisher so that we can provide that quality digital experience. Some of the benefits of the responsive theme are we found that it has been better for users. It allows you to have a clean single site that's crafted for your browser or your device. So if you are using a desktop, it's going to make it look nice on a desktop. If you're on a mobile device, it's going to look just as nice on a mobile device. So it's not scrunching your content. It's not going to deter people from using your site on mobile. It's going to enhance that experience. So if they are on a mobile device, they'll be able to read your stories just as well as if they were on a desktop or a tablet. So it's better for users. It's great for integrated and complete analytics data. So if you had the modular or river theme, you probably had a desktop version of your site as well as a mobile version of your site. With responsive, we no longer have to have those two separate stacks or those two separate places for your content and for your site. Your site will all live in one place, which makes it great for analytics. Instead of having separate data for your mobile site and your desktop, you can see data holistically for your site across the board. It's also good for social and sharing across devices. Having a responsive site makes it easier to share and to utilize those options within a post or a page. It's easier to manage the site from one admin and code base. So on the developer side on our end, the resources can be used instead of managing two separate code bases. The resources we have can be used improving features and diminishing defects in the system. It's great for search. So Google actually recommends and rewards responsive design sites. So you'll show up a little higher on the list, which is always good, which means you can reach more people and people can find you easier. There are a few goals for the responsive project. We wanted to offer a responsive theme that benefits from all the things responsive does well. Having the flexibility within the tool that allows stations to really utilize this new theme was really important as well. We wanted to make it flexible. We heard a lot of things from stations about how the homepage management had some limitations, and we've really opened that up with the responsive theme. We really took that into consideration and wanted to make it easier. We provide a clean, content-focused, engaging design. We provide value to stations as quickly as possible, so we take feedback after each session that we've onboarded over the past 10 cycles, and we have taken that feedback back to the development team, and they have made enhances. So just to let you guys know, responsive is an ongoing iterative development process. Just like anything else for Core Publisher that we've done in the past, the version of responsive that we have now is only going to be improved upon and made robust, more robust over time. So if there is something that is not in responsive right now that you would like to see, we'd love to hear that feedback. But just know that it's evolving and developing. We also worked in collaboration with stations. As I mentioned, after each cycle, we will have a feedback session with each station to understand what they liked well about the process, as well as what they liked and did not like about responsive itself. We did have a Core Publisher advisory group that helped us work on responsive at the very beginning of this process, and they were stations that were using Core Publisher, and they were also stations that weren't using Core Publisher, but that were interested in finding a responsive or having a responsive site. And so we asked a lot of questions and got a lot of feedback from them about what they would like to see in a responsive site and what was important to them. And we've used that to help guide our roadmap along the way. We also wanted to really focus on having an optimized listening experience. In the past, if you had the mobile site, you might have had, some people might have had issues with the mobile site playing the audio, or you might have had issues with people having the little now playing block, the play button on the desktop version. We wanted to make this responsive design have a really great listening experience throughout. So we want to make it easy for people to find your stream, as well as easy for them to play it no matter where they are. And that's why we made a big push to have the persistent player involved early in responsive, so that you guys can have that opportunity. Another thing we really wanted to work on is that this is an iterative development process, as I mentioned earlier, and we are focusing on the highest value things first. So the things that are really going to make a big impact across the board for all stations are the things we've incorporated into responsive in the beginning. And we will focus on reducing clutter so that users can easily find the content that's interested to them as well. So over time, we will get to some of the other development pieces that might not be as large of an impact across the board on workflow for stations, or that might be something that would be a nice to have, but it's not something that is more like a necessity at this point. But we wanted to make sure we focused on those highest value things first. But that doesn't mean we won't get to the things that are nice to have as well. We've learned a lot along the way. We have seen an increase in traffic from organic search in weeks immediately following the change from stations. We also have seen direct visits increase, and more visits included story content than before. The listening to inline audio has increased as well for many people, and streaming has remained pretty steady. Your group is going to be the first group that has had the responsive persistent player opportunity to have that enabled for the group as an entirety. And so we have changed the streaming experience a little bit without the persistent player, but we've seen that the streaming has remained steady. So even though we took away the now playing block and we've changed it just a tad bit, we do see that it hasn't gone down at all. And we really hope to see that once the persistent player is live for everyone, that streaming actually goes up. Here's an example of a quote that we got from Austin, who was with KBIA. And Austin was one of the first stations to move over to the responsive theme. And just the quote here, it shows, "I'm seeing absolutely massive period over period growth. And honestly, I'll attribute a lot of that to a new digital strategy based on responsive web design." And you can just see a comparison of the numbers from last year versus this year, which is when he switched over to the responsive theme. And you can just see the difference that he has had quite a bit of increase in sessions and users since the switch over. So we can see it was 22 sessions versus 41, and then 16,000 users versus 31. So you can just tell that the responsive theme has really helped. And I have heard this from several stations now. At this point, Austin was one of our early developers, but I have heard this even more recently than January. I just heard it a week ago. After someone switched over to responsive, they were sharing with me how they had some of their stories had actually been shared a lot more than they had been in the past, and they'd actually seen their chart beat numbers rise quite a bit. So that's really exciting to get feedback like that. With each cycle, I've heard different stories about how it's been helpful and how it's been something that the station has really enjoyed and embraced. I had one station that told me that he didn't even remember what his old site looked like because he was so happy with how responsive looked. So just hearing that from stations really helps us know that we're doing things that are helping them grow, and that's something that we're really proud of. We also have learned that the editors like the experience in the post creation page because we've added additional options for images. So you can add your images in several different places now. Stations are also pleased with the flexibility and effectiveness of the new site structure and homepage curation options. So I'll tell you a little bit about that in a few more slides, but we've got a lot of flexible blocks that you can add on your homepage now. Users are pleased with the clean design and can find content that they want pretty easily, which is always important. We have learned that there are some things we didn't do well along the way, and we made changes to refactor those things that stations weren't happy with or that they felt didn't help them grow or improve their site. One of the things that we ran into was an example of something that the development team put into place because they wanted the content to show up higher on the page and be elevated a little bit more. And it's pretty common throughout the internet if you have a responsive site that you'll see the header shrink on inner pages, so it can bump up the content a little bit. And that didn't feel like the right thing for some of our stations. Stations provided feedback and let us know that it felt like some of their branding was being diminished, and we definitely didn't want to take away from any branding aspect of the site. And so what we did was we provided stations with an option where they can configure to choose to keep the header at its full height or to make the header available to shrink on inner pages. So this is what there's a constant theme throughout Core Publisher now that we're trying to make things easier for stations to control on their own and have that flexibility to choose and have the option to say whether they want their configuration to be one way or another. So this was just one thing that we learned that we didn't do very well, and we refactored and thought about what we can do to improve it, and now we've given stations the option to change it on their own. A few things that we just wanted to remind everyone about would be the fact that although we're really excited about the growth that a responsive site can bring to stations, people will always come back and become more engaged because of the content on the site. It certainly is helpful to have a responsive site and something that's easy for people to see no matter on what device they are on. But the content is really what is going to drive your engagement. And whether you're growing a new audience or you're trying to stay intact and keep the existing audience that you have, there are certainly different approaches that you can take that will help grow your audience based on your content as well. And these are just a few examples of some things that you want to keep in mind while you are working on growing a new audience or growing or keeping your existing one. All right, so we have a few things that are different in Core Publisher, and I'm going to talk about each feature to let you know what things are different and what things are going to be the same. So there are familiar types of content features that you can create in Core Publisher that haven't gone away and that have stayed the same. A few of those things include pages. So pages are your static page on your site. Posts are a news or radio-focused story. Topic pages are aggregation pages of tags that you can create based on 5 tags on your site. They're kind of like a mini blog. Category pages are aggregation pages of posts related to a specific category. Tag pages are aggregation pages of posts related to a specific tag. Programs are program details and playlist information. People are short bio of staff and news contributors. Music live events are showcases of NPR music. And web clips are quick external links curated on your site. So those content types are still remaining the same. We haven't taken away from those content types or changed those. What you're going to find are different in the responsive theme are these content features that you can create in Core Publisher now. So you do have your homepage layout manager, and for stations that were River of News stations, this is going to be something new for you. It is where you can manage your homepage and decide which blocks you would like to place in certain areas or regions of your site. Promotional blocks are new. They're ways to highlight any type of content on your site, whether it's an event, local station promotion, or if you want to highlight a specific story or topic or program. Curated blocks allow you to highlight post content. So if you have, it's very similar to the lead stories block that you guys have on Modular and River now, that allows you to pick and choose a few stories that are either created locally or that are pulled down on your site from the NPR API and highlight them in a set of blocks on your homepage. The homepage River block is a place where you can showcase your local and NPR post content. And this homepage River block, if you're a River station, it's pretty much what your River is on your homepage. If you are a Modular station, the homepage River block has actually combined your local news block with your latest from NPR block. So it's all, those two blocks have been combined into one block on the homepage River block. Site-wide alert allows you to showcase local external alerts. And this is very similar to what you had in the sticky strip in Modular and River. So there are some features that we have either decided to not bring over to responsive, or things that we haven't created yet but we know we're working on and will be a part of responsive in the coming weeks. The Now Playing block has actually been replaced with the Persistent Player, and the Persistent Player is something that will be available for your cycle. So before you guys go live, you will have the opportunity to turn on the Persistent Player. The NPR News block is something we are working on as well. If you joined our webinar last week with Justin Brown, our new product owner for Core Publisher, he talked a lot about the blocks that are coming up in the coming weeks for responsive. And the NPR News block is something that we are working on as well. Skyboxes, sticky strip, announcement block, program promotion, and even the people block. These were blocks that we felt we could get the same type of content into a block that is more flexible. So we created the promotional block that will allow you to do the same things that you were doing in your skybox, your sticky strip, your announcement block, your program promo block. You can do all of those things in now this new block called the promotional block. So we've created this kind of super block that allows you to do multiple things and accomplish the same goals that you had in these blocks that you see here. The sticky strip is a little different because it has been replaced with the site-wide alert. And the program promo block is something that the team is working on to bring back as well. But you also can accomplish the same thing in the promotional block. The people block was something that we found wasn't driving engagement on the site. A lot of people didn't click on it. But if you do want to highlight your editors or your station staff contributors, you can do that in a promotional block now. There is just not a designated block for the people in the site. The carousel or the rotating feature block is something that is very similar to the lead stories block in that you are highlighting specific post content on your site. At this time, we are not bringing back the carousel or the feature content rotator for the responsive site. That's not to say that will change in the future, but at this time, we do not have the carousel feature live in responsive. We also are working on creating a full HTML block, and a full HTML block will allow you to put HTML such as a widget or HTML code into a block that you can use on your home page wherever you like. So that gives you the flexibility to have some custom things on your home page that you don't have in the responsive theme or in Core Publisher period at this time. So we're working on the program promo block, bringing that back. We're working on the NPR news block, as well as the category blocks that you have in modular now. So the ability to create what we're calling in the new responsive theme auto-populated blocks. So you can set up different categories, different topics, different tags. It's going to actually be more robust than the category blocks you can create now in Core Publisher and Modular. You will be able to create blocks that have the ability to pull from different tags, different topics, different categories, different programs. All of that will be able to be pulled from other areas of your site onto your homepage. So we're really excited about those new blocks that are coming this summer. What about features like the right rail? So if you're a modular station, you are very used to having a designated right rail. In the responsive theme, you no longer have a designated right rail. You have a few different regions where you can place content. Content can be placed in any of the regions, unlike the current theme, where you only have one promotional block, or you only have category blocks can only go in the middle column. Your social media block can only go in the right rail. That no longer exists in the responsive theme. You can place a block in any of the regions that you like. You also aren't limited by the number of blocks, so you won't just have one RSS block. You could create up to 50 blocks. So you have the ability to create 5 different RSS blocks if you want to. But this is just a heads up that these blocks do not exist. They're not existing blocks within the template, but you can create a vehicle donation button using a promotional block. You can create a podcast and RSS feed button using the promotional block. And the same thing goes with Connect with Us and People and Now Playing. All right. So that's an update on some of the features. Now we're going to move into how the header and the footer work in the responsive theme. So the header was created to give stations design flexibility within a responsive experience while adapting to the different sizes needed for desktop, tablet, and mobile presentation. The header also now has an admin tool for stations to update and manage the header on their own, so you can change it locally. So in the past, you probably are familiar with having to submit a ticket to our design team, and it can take up to 5 to 10 business days for the design team to make those changes for you. You no longer have to do that. We're giving you the power to change your header at any time, whenever you want to, all on your own. However, we have made sure that your header design will adjust depending on the size of the device of the screen that it's on, and Core Publisher automatically resizes the pages and the header to fit the breakpoints of the device. So breakpoints are based on if you are in landscape or portrait mode on your mobile or tablet, or if you are on a desktop. Excuse me, if you're on a desktop, you will see that there are different breakpoints that Core Publisher will take into account for you, and you don't have to worry about whether or not you're able to create five different headers. You only need one header, and we will take care of the rest for you. All right. Your header design will adjust depending on the size of your device screen. So Core Publisher does automatically resize the pages and the header to fit the breakpoints. And this is just an example. You can see this first version is on a desktop, and you can see the background colors and the background header, the image. You can see the Listen Live button and the Donate button. And then underneath this image, you would have your regular navigation. This second option is on a tablet, and so since the screen is smaller and wider, you're no longer seeing that image in the background, and we're keeping it clean and consistent so that it's easy to find the things you need. So the Listen Live button, the Donate button, and then the Site menu is here for easy access in a little hamburger style format, which you'll see across the web as a whole as something that is very common. And if you get to a smaller screen, you're going to notice things are a little bit different here as well. So the tagline is gone. We're keeping it even more simple. The smaller the device, the simpler the header becomes. And you still have the Listen Live and Donate button and the Site menu. And then finally, on the smallest version here, the Listen Live is right at the top. You still have your logo and your branding is there. You have the Donate option, and then you still get that hamburger style Site menu. This is just the variations of what a header might look like if you're going across different breakpoints. Another area that we wanted to enhance the flexibility on for stations was the footer. So you now have the ability to manage your partner footer. So if you have a partnership with a university or a programming entity, you can easily upload their logo and place it into an arrangement in your bottom footer area. We did remove that flexi footer, the big gray footer area. It was not a clean design for a responsive site. It didn't look good in mobile or tablet. So we have removed that big gray area, and we are recommending stations moving any content that is needs to be top of mind and on every page to the navigation instead of having it in that gray footer area. You also have this bottom footer area that you've always had in the past, and you can control this as well now. So we have created these two admin tables or queues where you can control your affiliate area as well as your bottom footer area, where you can put things like your contact us or your EEO file or your privacy policy, things you want to stay top of mind and show up on every page for easy access. You can control this now all on your own. Underwriting is a little different in the responsive theme. You have standard IAB and IAB ad sizes available in Core Publisher. So if you are on a desktop, you will have one 728 by 90, and this can be used for an expandable pencil pushdown. Three 300 by 250 medium rectangle blocks. In the past, some stations only had 2, so now every station gets 3. On a tablet, you have those same options. So you have the one 728 by 90 banner ad. That's a top banner that usually shows up underneath the navigation. Or you have those 300 by 250 medium rectangles. But on mobile, you just have one ad, and it is a 320 by 50. And here's just an example of what those sizes look like. So this is the banner ad that you see at the top on desktop and mobile, the 728 by 90. The mobile ad, the 320 by 50. And then the desktop and tablet, you'll have your normal 300 by 250 medium rectangles. We have made enhancements to Core Publisher to allow for double-click for Publisher to be more integrated in Core Publisher. So at this time, we have created the ability for stations to connect their Core Publisher site with their DFP account. It does allow stations to serve in-house ads as well as sell and manage underwriting campaigns locally. You can include tracking and click-through rate on ads through DFP. It allows for ad rotation and targeting. And campaigns are created in DFP and then pulled into Core Publisher ad block placements. You are not doing configuration for your ads within Core Publisher anymore. You're doing everything in DFP. DFP is required only if you are interested in using ads. You are not required to use ads on your Core Publisher site. I'm going to repeat that one more time, just so everyone is aware. You're not required to use ads on your Core Publisher site. However, if you are interested in doing ads now, or if you might be interested in doing ads in the future, we have created the tools to allow you to do that and to connect to an ad server, specifically DoubleClick for Publisher. Unfortunately, Digital Services does not have a ad specialist or someone that has traffic ad experience here in our offices. So we cannot fix or build or traffic ads for stations. However, we are very happy to provide you with getting started steps to help you start initially putting your ads into DFP. And we will have training tomorrow on DFP if you are interested in using ads. If you're not interested in using ads, or you don't do it now and you don't have any plans of doing it in the future, you don't have to come to the training tomorrow. You don't have to participate in the training tomorrow. You're not required to do ads for moving over to responsive. But if you do ads now and you want to do ads in the future, please come to training tomorrow, and I will show you how to make it work in the responsive theme. We do recommend working with a third party for troubleshooting campaigns or creative development. We do have some stations that work with National Public Media, or NPM. And NPM is a third party that does ads for NPR.org, as well as other public broadcasting stations and entities, and they're very helpful in troubleshooting and doing all of the campaign setup work for stations. They do have a fee structure. If you're interested in getting their information, please let either myself or Rakisha know, and we'll be happy to share that info with you. So our timeline and responsibility over this process will be a 3-week theme switching cycle. Core Publisher theme switching kickoff is today, our call right now, and then tomorrow we will have DFP training, where I will talk to you about how to set up your DFP account to connect to your new responsive theme. You also will have 3 one-hour group trainings. So each, in week 2, you will have a training on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and they will be a 1-hour training each time. They are webinars, and we do recommend participating in the live version if you can, but if you cannot, We will have them recorded, but we really recommend being a part of the live version because it's helpful to hear other stations' questions and have the ability to ask questions on the call during the training as well. So recommend going to the live version, but if you can't, we will have them available as a resource on our YouTube channel that you can you can watch later, so they will be recorded. We also will hold group 1-hour check-in sessions. So we will have one group session each week. I will have a group of stations that I'm working with, and I'll have my group session. And Rakisha Chase will have a group of stations that she will be working with, and she will have her separate group check-in session each week. And that's really just a time for you to ask questions, try things out, spend some time with me, reviewing something that might not have made sense during the webinar. So that's really just a kind of like a working session for us to chat and go through questions. In the third week, you will have a launch day. So we will pass around a poll where you can choose the day and time that works best for you. And we will set up your configuration to switch your responsive theme over on your live site at that time. You will also have a 1-hour post-launch follow-up call in about a week after you launch, so you can provide feedback about the process, as well as provide any feature requests or questions or bugs that you've noticed along the way. Each week you will have a little bit of homework, and you can expect to spend anywhere from 3 to 9 hours of local working time weekly with us on this switch. And that depends on your resources. This can certainly be split between station staff, and that does include time on training and check-in calls. Stations will be responsible for building any new DFP ad units into the system, and I will show you how to do that tomorrow, as well as setting up your ads in DFP to connect to your responsive theme site if you have any existing ads in there. We will need you also to practice the layout manager as well as using the new blocks. So you will have the opportunity to get to know these new blocks before they're live on your actual site. We also would like you to get internal stakeholder sign-off, so you can show, we will provide you with a backstage site so you can create these things and practice. But you should pass that backstage site around to any stakeholders there at the station so they can be aware of what this new responsive theme might look like before it goes live. And if they have any questions, you can bring those to us as well. So I mentioned you will get a backstage site. Backstage is a test site for stations to use to practice using the new layout manager as well as using the new blocks. It is not going to be used for your live site launch, so your backstage site is just a test site. It's not an exact duplicate of your live site. It's basically a snapshot in time. So about a week ago, we took a snapshot of your live site, and we pulled over some of its content. It does not have all of your images. It does not have all of your audio, and it does not have your NPR national content in that backstage site. It's just a snapshot where you can practice using all of the new tools and blocks, but we're not going to make it live on launch day. Your site is still going to be your site, and it's just a place for you to test things out. It also means that your content is going to stay exactly where it is. You don't have to import or move any content over or anything like that. We're just basically on the day of launch going to turn off a bunch of old features and turn on a bunch of new ones. So you will have your 4 one-hour training webinars over the 2 consecutive weeks. Those are required weekly attendance. They are separate 1-hour weekly check-in calls over the same we'll actually have those over the next 3 weeks. So those are definitely things that if you can attend, you really should watch the recording of. Following training schedule for your cycle, each training session will be offered via a live webinar. Recorded option will be available, and your weekly check-in will be on a separate day, but during the same week of your training session, so you can ask questions. It is your responsibility to apply the lessons from each training session to complete tasks in advance of the weekly check-in call. So if you didn't get a chance to look at DSP before the call, then it doesn't really benefit the station if they didn't actually go in and do the homework. So please do the homework. Please go in and take a look at these things after the webinar so that when we get around to the check-in call, you have a good understanding and can ask questions. You will be assigned a support manager to be your main point of contact. You will have guidance and support from us, and we will complete your initial setup with you. We'll provide you with backstage access. We'll advise throughout the process, so if you have any questions, I certainly recommend writing it down or having a list for the check-in calls that you also can email myself or Rakisha Chase directly, whichever one is your dedicated support manager. And we will provide training and guidance as well as schedule your post-lunch call. After the cycle ends, you will go back to the regular support practice by submitting through the ticketing system, but during this 3-week period, you will have myself or Rakisha Chase to be your guiding light. So this is just our contact information if you need to reach us in the meantime. My email is here on the screen as well as Rakisha's. You also have a link here to the Help and How-Tos page on the digitalservices.npr.org website. And some of the things that we cover over the course of this training have posts on that site with how-to information. And we'll point out the ones when we get to them during the training as well. But this is just a good place to go to peruse and check out some of the support details and documentation. We certainly will provide you with your backstage site as soon as possible this week, probably within the next 24 hours. We will need you to register for all trainings and check-in calls. And if you have not signed up for DoubleClick for Publisher and are interested in doing ads, we recommend doing that as soon as possible because they can take sometimes up to 3 weeks just to get you your login access. So it can be kind of a lengthy process if you're not already signed up. If you're using NPM, certainly contact them and let them know you are in this cycle and let them know that you are participating in the responsive theme switch, and then they'll know the things that they need to do to your account to get ready for the launch week. All right, so we have now just about 8 minutes here for questions, and so let's get started. Best practice suggestions for small stations that does not generate a lot of local story content. Oh, this is something we cover a lot of in our training next week. And so Rakisha is the person that will be doing the best practices training next week, and she actually speaks specifically to the small stations and to the stations that don't have a local content. Can a user select between 2 streams by clicking on Listen Live? Yes, so there are a few options. Why don't I get out of the slides here and show you a few examples of what things will look like once you're in responsive. I'm just going to pop over to a site that is already live and responsive. And we can see what the site might look like. So for stations that have not moved over to the persistent player just yet, you would have that Listen Live button here in the top right. But for stations that are, since you're in the cycle, you will not have that Listen Live button. You will actually have the persistent player. So if you are stationed with multiple streams, this is what the persistent player is going to look like for you. This does collapse and expand. And if you have more than one stream, then you'll see them available here. And you can click on the play button to play whichever stream you are wanting to listen to. It also has playlist information brought in from Composer 2. So if you have song data, it will show up here. it does show what program is airing at the top, so you can see what is airing now and then what is coming up next. So this is what, since you're in this cycle, you will have the persistent player available to you. Is the lead story block going away? Yes, the lead stories block will be going away and is replaced with the curated block. So the curated block is what you're seeing here. This is very similar to lead stories. You can choose to have 3 curated blocks, or you can choose to just have a 1 curated block. Let me see if they have any here. I can show you what 1 curated block looks like if I can find one for you. Okay, this is a 1 curated block. So it's actually really similar to the lead stories, where you have the option to have either 1 or 3 stories, and this is what it looks like if you have 1, and this is what it looks like if you have 3. Will you be sending the post-launch info link? The post-launch info link, I will be sending around each week. I'll send an email to you with the action items for the week, and I will include links to how-to documentation as well as to registration links for the webinars and any helpful things that will help you along the way. Will we have access to upload images to the site? Yes. You can certainly, when you have a Backstage site, you can do all of the functionality that you will be able to do in your live site on Backstage. So you can upload images, you can upload audio. You're just not going to see past all of the past stuff. You might see some of your audio from existing posts or some of the images from existing posts that we pulled down on the day we created your Backstage site. But if you're creating anything new in Backstage, you certainly have all access to the functionality and features. Good question. Can a non-DS stream be used in the persistent player? Absolutely. You do not need to be a DS streaming customer in order to use the persistent player. You do need to have a direct stream URL. So you can't have a stream link that has .m3u at the end of it or .pls at the end of it. It has to be a direct stream URL. So you can reach out to your stream provider and ask them for a direct MP3 stream URL. And they should be able to give that to you very easily. And for anyone that is a DS streamer, we have your direct stream URL. It's typically the thing that is in your station stream queue, in your station streams queue. If you go into your site, and you are a station that is in Modular River now, and you go to Manage Queues, you'll see that you have a Station Streams queue. And the URL that we'll need for your player is going to be the same URL that we used for your mobile site, and that's the last column in that Station Streams queue. Okay. Okay. Can the persistent player be configured? Oh, that's the one I just answered. Oh, sure. I'll put the links that were on that last page into the GoToMeeting right now. Any other questions? When you create a new page for sweepstakes, have you given us more fonts to use? No, we haven't given additional fonts for station sites. You actually, since you're part of a template, so the responsive theme is part of a template, it's going to have the same fonts available throughout the site. All stations are going to have the same site colors for their font and the same font type. So unfortunately, no, we do not give more flexibility for fonts. All right, well, we are just hitting the 3 o'clock hour here. I'm going to include the links here in the chat window for anyone that didn't get a chance to see that information or didn't get a chance to write it down. We also have recorded today's webinar, so we certainly recommend sharing the recording with anyone in the station that needs to hear this information, and it should be posted within the next 24 hours. And we also will provide you with the slides from today's call as well. Thank you everyone for joining me, and I look forward to providing assistance for anyone that is in my group during this cycle. And thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us today, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you.